Hi, I'm Steve. You can call me Steve. It may surprise some of you, but Canada can get rather hot in the summer. We're not stuck in an eternal winter, we don't drive dog sleds, and there isn't a 50-meter wall of snow at the border. Our capital, Ottawa, is unbearably muggy in the summer because somebody had the brilliant idea to build it in a swamp. The area that I come from, on the other side of the country, is almost a desert, and there's a real desert 2 hours south of it. All this heat means it's nice to have a fan going, especially at night, because it's impossible to sleep when it's stupidly hot. I think that's a sentiment that basically everyone can agree on, except people from South Korea, who are convinced that having a fan blowing on you while you're sleeping will kill you. Let me make it clear, I'm not picking on Koreans. I've done dozens of videos about things that scare white people. It's simply fan death's turn in the barrel. Fan death is exactly what it sounds like. The belief that sleeping in a closed room with an electric fan running will cause you to die. Closed in this case means no source of fresh air from the windows. This belief seems to have begun about the time that electric fans were first available for sale in Korea, and probably comes from a fear of new technology that is not unique to Korea. The purported victims can be of any age, from teens all the way up to seniors. Of course, there's no evidence to back any of this up. There isn't a plague of people dying in their sleep every summer, in Korea or anywhere else. If someone does happen to die during the night, it was due to some other cause. I know this because there's no coherent mechanism to explain how the fan is supposed to kill you. There are a number of hypotheses, none of them convincing. The least unlikely one is hyperthermia, getting too hot. This can be a legitimate problem if the fan is blowing air warmer than body temperature. This places heat stress on the body, which can have negative health effects, but won't kill young healthy people like fan death is supposed to. That said, heat waves are usually accompanied by deaths of elderly and infirm people. For this reason, the US Environmental Protection Agency does recommend not using fans if the heat index feels warmer than 32 degrees Celsius. The heat index is a measurement that combines temperature and humidity because both of those things contribute to how hot it feels. Below 32 degrees is perfectly fine. While hyperthermia can cause fatalities in certain groups of people, it requires a complex set of conditions and you can't simply blame the fan. Still, of all the options, this is the least wrong. From here on in, it just gets wronger. Another hypothesis is the complete opposite condition, hypothermia, or getting too cold. The reasoning, such as it is, runs that moving air evaporates sweat and causes a cooling effect, which is true. Therefore, too much cooling will give you hypothermia, which is false. This may be true if you couldn't produce your own body heat, or if you weren't already sleeping in a stiflingly hot room. Excessive sweat evaporation might cause dehydration, though, and loss of fluid increases the risk of hypothermia, especially in older people. I know I've woken up quite thirsty after a night under a fan, but I don't drink enough fluids anyway, so I usually start out halfway to dehydration. Again, it's highly unlikely this is going to kill you. Just remember to stay hydrated, not because of the hypothermia, but because it's important to drink lots of fluids in hot weather. The most unlikely one is asphyxiation, due to breathing all the oxygen and replacing it with exhaled carbon dioxide. While it's theoretically possible, it has nothing to do with the fan. If anything, the fan should make asphyxiation less likely by mixing all the various gases up and keeping CO2 from building up in any one particular place. In order to asphyxiate, you need to have a hermetically sealed room, which is not a standard feature of home construction. If there's a gap at the bottom of the door, you're fine. Air can get in and out through the space between the door and the door frame. When I was in grad school, I used to do chemistry in a special box that had no oxygen in it at all. And I can attest how much effort goes to keeping oxygen out. That stuff gets everywhere. You're not going to suffocate. There's an even more unlikely hypothesis that the fan blades cut the oxygen molecules in half. And I can assure you there is a 0% chance of that happening. Believe me, If I could break chemical bonds that easily, my job as a chemist would be infinitely less frustrating. Belief in fan death is not rational, which means you can't reason someone out of it with mere facts. This isn't something unique to Koreans. Rather, it's a failure of human thinking across the globe. Everybody does this. I've probably got a few irrational notions of my own, and I'm clinging to them despite the existence of evidence proving them to be nonsense. The prevalence of fan death belief is declining. Younger generations of South Koreans, who have grown up exposed to the internet, are seeing how little traction the idea of fan death has outside their country, and are rejecting it as yesterday's superstition. Of course, this observation doesn't come from a proper scientific survey, so take it with a grain of salt. Thanks for watching. I've been Steve.